The noble cross has several names: Jerusalem cross, Crusader cross, and fivefold cross. It's the symbol of the four gospels, or the four directions in which the word of Christ spread from Jerusalem. The symbol is composed of five crosses, with branches of equal length, a central one, and four smaller ones placed in each of the quadrants of the first one. Its name does not come from anywhere. This variant of the Christian cross was notably used as the emblem and coat of arms of the Kingdom of Jerusalem from the end of the 13th century, while the symbol of the Jerusalem cross as such seems to come from the 11th century. Its association with the Holy Land only dates back to the Crusades. The idea of using this cross as the coat of arms of the newly created state is traditionally attributed to Got-Avoy, the Abon the first ruler of Jerusalem. However, now not all kings used it. The arms of Gian, for example, who ruled from 1210 to 1212, consisted only of a simple silver Christian cross on a gold background. Other rulers later made the cross. We're talking about here their personal emblem. We can therefore easily imagine kings wearing this kind of pendant representing their symbol across the Jerusalem. Symbol of Jerusalem cross has had many uses since its creation. We are now going to list a few that should interest history buffers. Legends has as it had legend has it that legend has it that he found such a signet ring. Nobody knows exactly what it looked like, but we do know that it bore the Crusader's cross. During the Crusades in which he participated, he found her so exceptional, so perfectly beautiful that he decided to include the symbol she wore in the long list of emblems of the English crown. In short, the design of these pieces was based on a model of a Jerusalem cross, but with four small crosses placed diagonally besides coins, metaphor the city of Jerusalem from the end of the 12th century not necessarily used the Christian cross as the seal, of the city monuments such as the Tower of David, the Dome of the Rock, the Holy Sepulchre. What were also used is Ret de Deep, only under siege, reign of John II from 1284 to 1285 that the coin stuck. I used almost a symbol of Christianity. The Christian cross in general is a very common theme when it comes to making flags. In fact, there are thousands of variations. We're not going to make an exhaustive list. I've spit it again here. At the end of the medieval period, the cross of Jerusalem will have been used for various Christian states of the Near East. The Book of All Nights, a 14th century work, uses it as the flag of Sebastia, a province of the Byzantine Empire. At about the same time, the map of Pezzagano uses it as the flag of Gorgian, a city of Tbilisi, all night. Even today, the October of the Holy Sepulchre still uses the cross of Jerusalem as the emblem. Their organization is also used by the Franciscan Custody of the Holy Land, a Catholic organization that oversees the preservation of holy places in Jerusalem and Judea. At the beginning of the 20th century, the Jerusalem cross also became a symbol of evangelization in certain currents of Protestantism. One of the most famous recent examples is the Episcopal Church. So this cross, which was first used during World War One by the Anglican Church in the United States. In the 1950s, the Congress of the German Evangelical Church decided to use the Jerusalem cross as a symbol of their community as well. The current flag of Georgia, Narcissus on 99. Another interpretation that is given to Jerusalem cross that actually represents Christ and the four evangelists. Again, rhymes and the message in Jerusalem that some of the most important events in the life of Jesus and his disciples took place. This is the place where Jesus was crucified and resurrected. Rhyme again. Judea could represent our close circles, neighborhood, colleagues, classmates, friends. Samaria is a region that was famous in Israel during the first century, especially because it was where the Samaritans came from. anyone who has read the Bible knows that Jesus did not really have a good relationship with these people, given Jesus' command to go and preach. Even in Samaria, we could say that it is our duty to share our faith even with those who don't like it. At the ends of the earth, finally, Jesus instructed his disciples to go to the end of the world. There's probably no figure of speech here. God wants us to spread the gospel even to the furthest places on the planet. Some individuals receive this gift of evangelization are called to be missionaries. Rapping a quick rap, a canary, rapping again inside of my head. Religion, said the Knights Templar, constituted a first-rate organization during the Middle Ages, well known in all Christian countries. Their primary task was to protect European travelers and pilgrims who come to visit the sites of the Holy Land. In addition to this function, the Knights Templar also carried out many military operations. Their great power of influence, the military powers they demonstrated in their exploratory attitude during the Crusades gradually made this organization an ideal subject of legends. Among all these, the symbols of the Templar cross occupies a special place. Again, in 1099, when the Christian armies took Jerusalem back from the Muslim occupation, large numbers of pilgrims began to arrive in the Holy Land. Territories they had to cross were still controlled by Muslims. As a result, many of these Christians died to complete their pilgrimage. Later in 1118, that a French knight named Hugues Dupayens decided to create a military order to help his fellow believers. He decided to come to name it the Order of the Poor Knights of Christ in the Temple of Solomon. Later on, this order was better known as the Order of the Knights of Templar. Jerusalem had in fact decided to organize the headquarters on the Temple Mount in the district of the city. This could be an explanation for it. Although there are other more mysterious explanations. For several centuries, the Knights Templar were known as an elite group of warriors, always ready to fight to defend the land where Christ was born. The lives of their brothers, the Christian cross, and especially the symbol of cross of the Knights Templar, symbol of the Templar cross, is actually very close visually to a whole bunch of Catholic crosses. It is based on a model of the Greek cross, with fit in their arms, and the original one, and special legs in the shape of a T, again, in between. Anyone knows the history of the Christianity knows that the symbol of the cross has been used in different ways. There have been stories of crosses miraculously appearing on a cloven, particularly worthy individuals' appearances of this symbol in churches and a whole host of other miracles. It was Pope Urban II, however, who officially instituted the sign both as a military distinction and as a reminder to Christian knights that they were fighting for a cause beyond them, the glory of God. During the Crusades, the Pope ordered that the sign of the Christian cross be cut from any piece of cloth to be sewn into the tunics and coats of those who went out to fight all night. The symbol of the Knights Templar is undoubtedly the one most associated with power, especially military power, associated with strict and powerful principles. This Catholic cross is still carried with pride today by thousands of people for the meaning it carries a symbol that interests us, that interests me here, corresponds to the cross that the Knights of the Order of the Templars proudly wore on their tunics and armor. The significance of the cross of the Knights Templar when it accompanied them in battle was that of the Christian symbol evoked the sacrifice of Christ on the cross. By keeping the image in mind, the Knights Templar were no longer afraid of death because they knew that they were guaranteed a place in paradise. Right, all day and all night. That in my head, the lyrics began. The symbol of the cross in a circle, very old, has played an important role in the history of mankind. All night, the night, inside of my head, the lyrics and rhymes. All day and all night, inside of my head, the lyrics again. Echoing religion of the Knights of Templar, for Reimer, forever Reimer, night, forever. Today we about Saint Angel, Saint Michael, after spending again at the beginning of the 8th century AD on the hospitable and the wild rock cult of Archangel Michael gave birth to a great pilgrimage at the origin of the development of the Abbey. Saint Michael cult comes from the 5th century in the West in Italy. Monte Gargano is a Michael Lick, a site, a rep, spent rhymes all day and night. Saint Michael the Archangel is one of the three archangels recognized by Christianity, and not only his figure in fact worshipped and that narrated even by the professions of faith, such as Judaism and Islam. Indeed, it can be said that he is recognized by all as the archangel before his term was used for Gabriel and Raphael. His name means who is like God, and a symbol of love always been the sword and spirit and armor. Michael is a heavenly warrior. Michael is a heavenly warrior. Michael the archangel. There goes inside my head the lyrics again. Stop by said, never stop by said, never stop by said, again and again. Noble Cross has several names across Crusaders and five full crosses discovered in the true meaning of rock rhymes again inside my head. Lyrics and rhymes all day and all night. What must be wrong with my head? The echoing lyrics again. Never stop it. I said, inside my head. Never stop it again. Echoing religion. I said, echoing religion. I said, inside of my head again and again. The Templar Order was created in 1119 in Jerusalem and founded on January 13th, 1129 in Troyes by the Knight Hughes de Payans. If you wanted to know, that's been happening again. Chivalry Order was the most prestigious military and religious order of the Middle Ages. Again, the territorial divisions were always called preceptories by the Knights Templar. It was not until the 14th century that the Knights of St. John, Jerusalem Hospitalers of St. John, gave them the name of the commanderies, the preceptories, were as many considerable domains composed of fiefdoms and atlays, where they established fortified castles, in which they put under the guard of a brother called preceptor, a master who had the entire administration of the land, collective of revenues of which he gave an account penny for penny, and had under his obedience the knight station in his house, and the professed who were destined to enter the order. At the birth of the order, the council immediately had at its disposal all the goods, which soon multiplied in the east, and in year first at least, then it deputed former religious to whom it assigned a district of territory to administer it, to collect the revenues, and send them to Palestine. These treasurers, as we have already said, were called tutors, owed a faithful account, and were allowed to retain only their modest maintenance. These different places where tutors made their residence. The young knights were gathered together who, under discipline of the elders, were trained in religious and military life, and took leave of spirit of their profession. There were the communities or convents spread throughout Christianity that contained the most precious and dearest repository of the order's hopes. But men of all origins and conditions made up the Templar Corps. At every level of the hierarchy, different texts allow us to brush the portraits of the brother knights and the sergeants, the patron saint, and the protector of the Templars was Saint George. He was also the patron saint of the Teutonic Order, and more generally of all Christian knights. His tomb is still venerated in Lydia and Israel. The name George comes from Greek Georges, he who cultivates the land. The recognition of the Templar was not only through elaboration of a rule and a name, but also through attribution of a particular dress code specific to the order of the Knights Templar. The mantle of the Templars referred to that of this Christian amongst only knights, but brothers of the nobility were allowed to wear the white mantle, a symbol of purity, of bhakti and chastity. Traditionally, the white cloak or coat is a sign of both spiritual and material royalty. It seems that the Red Cross was granted to the King's Templar only belatedly in 1147 by Pope Eugene III of a Templar, and iconography presented it as a simple Greek cross anchored but not wrapped perfect at the side of my head. Lyrics again speaking religion, I said. Crusaders as a whole were perceived by the Arabs as barbarians, ignorant and childish. Beginning of the 12th century, the Knights Templar proved to be the most formidable fighters the Arabs ever faced. However, outside the battlefield, they were also known for their religious tolerance. In 1114, the Emperor and chronicler Ozama, also an ambassador to Franks. The Franks went to Jerusalem and used to go to the ancient El Aqsa, the place of residence of my friends the Knights Templar, the Amar reported an antidote during which the Knights Templar openly defended him during prayer while the Muslims' way of praying was unknown and misunderstood by the Franks who had recently arrived in the East. The Knights Templar had this cult respected even though it was described as unfaithful residents for purpose snapple. I don't know how the lyrics begin. I go inside my head, I go in rhymes again. I said Solomon's temple was built 10th century BC. Solomon's temple was built in 10th century BC. For those who do not know, the first 5 books of the Old Testament Bible for Christians and the Judaic Bible for Christians and Torah for Jews are common to both religions. It should be noted that Islam also recognizes the Torah, claims that some passages of these writings were falsified by the Jews. Islam also partially recognizes some other books of the Old Testament Bible Christians and Judaic, but for Christians, all the books of the Old Testament written in Hebrew are only one part of the Bible, and there being the New Testament written after Christ's coming on earth. Haven't yet heard. It's important to know that the three religions, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, consider Abraham as their founding father. Abraham on his return from a victorious campaign, according to that commentators of from 1050 to 1010. A soul born in 1096 BC will unify without difficulty the tribes to find the king and will be the first king of Israel chosen by the prophet Samuel. On the wise advice of the prophet Samuel, he imposes the creation of a unique sanctuary, which will result in the installation of the Ark of the Covenant in Jerusalem. This founding act will make Yahweh the only God of the Jews. From 1010 to 970, David, born in 1056 BC, will be the second king of Israel, chosen by the prophet Samuel, who is presented in the biblical account. Along with his son Solomon. After the death of Solomon, the northern tribe rebelled under the reign of his son Rehoboam in 931 BC. Rehoboam, son of Solomon, provoked a schism that divided the kingdom of Israel into 2 rival kingdoms. He was the king of Judah for 17 years. Rehoboam, son of Naat, of the tribe of Ephraim, of the second protagonist of the schism. The schism as the founder of the northern kingdom of Israel and the first king of Israel from 931 BC to 910 BC. The 2 nations, Israel in the north and Judah in the south, disunited and often fought against each other in the kingdom of Judah. The dynasty of David continued until the Babylonians then invaded the country 597 and 586 BC. But Israel, many kings and dynasties succeeded one another. The period of divided monarchy was marked by constant threats from the Assyrians, Aramaic, and the Babylonians. Israel and its capital Samaria dealt before the Assyrian army in 722 through 721 BC. People were deported and foreigners settled in their place. Judah suffered 2 humiliations under the Babylonians, yoked the surrender of Jerusalem in 597 BC, and its destruction in 586 BC. Captures were taken in Babylon twice. It says no foreigners came to settle in the kingdom of Judah. It says the captives enjoyed a certain freedom, at least freedom to associate with each other. The life of the people continued both in Babylon and their homeland. Exile was misfortune which the prophets had long foretold as a divine punishment. This experience led the Israelites to examine their coincidences as a people, and then speak, write down their ancient traditions. But again. And then they said after the Crusaders took Jerusalem in 1099, the dome of the rock was transformed into a Christian church. It is then surmounted by a cross decorated inside with pious images about the Arabic inscriptions. Again, it's that in my head, the lyrics never end, the lyrics never end, echo and infinite rhymes, never end, and all day and all night, and never end, and echo and rhymes, never end, and echo and rhymes. When one pronounces the word crusade, one thinks directly of paintings revealing a splendid panorama of the Middle East and of the son of the knights coming to act out their conviction by killing the infidels. And who better than the order of the Knights Templar to perfect the spectacle unworthy of the film Kingdom of Heaven? The Crusades were not just about muscular pilgrimages to Jerusalem and reduced the orders of the Knights monks to the Templars would be to overlook the fact that there were other slightly different orders who were not rapper special. One that made history of the order of the Teutonic Knights. The history of the Teutonic Order goes back to the Third Crusade and the failure of the German Crusade of Emperor Frederick Barbarossa. Following his death, when a large part of the army turned back, a small part led by his son Frederick of Swabia joined the Crusaded troops of Richard Lionheart of Phillips II Augustus at the siege of St. John of Acre in 1190. A field hospital was established under the city walls to care for the German Crusaders. From then on, we are on a temporary one which lasted a long time. This field hospital is the starting point of the Teutonic Order, or its official name at the time, the House of the German Hospitals of St. Mary of Jerusalem. Later in 1198, the decision was taken to create a military branch at this hospital, which was approved by Pope Innocent III on February 19th, 1199. This was the beginning of the Teutonic Knights. However, the beginnings of the Teutonic Order were not incredible, even though they had a certain financial affluence. No one allowing them to buy buildings in St. John of Ace. They remained small compared to other heavyweights. The Order of the Knights Templar and the Order of the Hospitallers, on the other hand, just like them, their destiny seems linked to the future of the Holy Land. The Holy Land, this important Grand Master, the fourth Grand Master, is a certain Herman van Salza, who is not just anyone, since he is the fourth Grand Master of the Teutonic Order, who is Herman van Salza, and not much is known about him, except that he was born in Varengen in 1679, that he entered the service of the Order probably around 1204. In any case, from the time of his ascension as Grand Master, he worked tirelessly to raise the Teutonic Order to a level of power of the Hospitallers and the Knights Templar, engaged them in the Fifth Crusade in Egypt, where he played a leading role despite the failure of the crusade. But above all, Von Salza is close to Frederick Dues, the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, the superpower of the time, using a rare talent for the time. In any case, rare in view of the traditional image of a medieval knight, since here we're talking about the art of diplomacy. His best diplomatic move was the Sixth Crusade, led by Frederick II himself. Crusade that culminated in the Treaty of Jaffa on February 18th, 1229, which gave the city of Jerusalem about a fight to Frederick II, who took advantage of the occasion to be crowned king of Jerusalem. Hermann von Salza remained until his death a very close advisor to the emperor, never ended rapper forever. Soon enough, the Teutonic Order will turn to horizons after that, other than that of the Latin states of the East, thus expanding the definition of the crusade, for example, and the conversion of arms and pagan peoples, whoever they may be, now fall within this definition. On the other hand, I don't think that the Teutonics are abandoning the kingdom of Jerusalem. They took an active part in the Crusades, led by King Louis, who apparently enjoyed the raid very much. And in his defense of St. John of Acre in 1291, leading that led the last stand of honor alongside the other orders of knightly monks. Before the final fall of the city in the eastern Latin states, the first opportunity to establish the order outside the Holy Land came in 1211, when King Andrew II of Hungary invited the Teutonic monks to settle in Transylvania to fight. Teutonics were therefore set to fight in the incursions of nomadic peoples. The common Andre II donated the country to them, inviting them to settle. Then their German colonists, who then developed agriculture, crafts, fishing, and forestry. They were exempted from taxes and were even entitled to half the income from gold and silver mines. Rhymes all day and all night. A very interesting opportunity arose in 1225 when the Polish Duke Conrad of Mazovia called the Teutonic Knights to support him in a struggle against the pagan populations of Prussia. Indeed, for more than 200 years, people of the Baltic Sea have been resisting conversion to Catholicism. Pope Celestine III did launch the Baltic Crusades in 1193, and another order of knight monks, the Order of the Sword Holder Knights, was even formed in 2202 in Lithuania, but the situation did not advance, and the Baltics even had the luxury of counterattack and making incursions. The situation into the Duchy of Mazovia, the order created for the occasion, Order of the Sword Holder Knights, was crushed in 1236 by a local population during the Battle of the Sun. But there was no way Hermann von Solza would rush into it. He first wants to ensure his own backing. He ends up getting what he wants. Emperor Frederick assures him full possession of the lands, that the other will succeed in conquering with the golden bubble of Rimini in 1226 and 1230. Duke Conrad of Mazovia ceded the country of Kelmino to the Teutonic Knights and abandoned any claim to the territories that the order could conquer. Subsequently, and was the Pope and his golden bull of Ratati in 1234, who placed the territories of the Teutonic Order under the sole authority of the Holy See. Indeed, as early as 1231, the Teutonic Knights set out to attack Prussia and began a war that lasted more than 60 years. At first, the progress was rapid. The country of Kelmo, located in present-day Poland, it was conquered in less than 2 hours. Progression marks the step thereafter, and it takes Teutonics 10 years to subdue all the Western Prussia, solidifying their advance by erecting fortresses in 1237. Order of the Sword Holder Knights merged with the Teutonic Order, which made it possible to regain the ground lost in Lithuania the previous year, even to try again to conquer territories. And in 1242, the order suffered a serious setback at the Battle of Lake Peipos against the army of Prince Alexander Nevsky, which halted an advance in the north. But it did not prevent it from continuing the advance in Prussia, although they had some problems indeed. The Prussians revolted twice against the invader, once from 1242 to 1249, and again from 1260 to 1283. And then they are close to defeating the Teutonic Order, but the latter recovered, hardened its attitude toward the locals, no longer hesitate in the ravage the contrary, and reduced the population to slave-free from 170,000 around the year of 1,200. The Prussians are only 90,000 around 1,300. Once the conquest is complete, the Teutonic Order works to consolidate its possessions by founding cities foreign and by encouraging the colonization of the country by German and Polish settlers, which was later called the First Danish Osten, the March of the East. Indeed, and in 1309, the Grand Master of the Order sailed in, leaving thence, where the seat of the order had been established after the fall of St. John of Ace, thus leaving the Mediterranean area and confirming the importance taken by the Teutonic state of the Baltic at this stage. The Teutonic Empire is rich, very, very rich. It exports a lot of wood, cereals, and amber. It has several Teutonic cities joined the League, a powerful guild that groups together the major trading cities of northern Europe. It controls all the mouths of Vistula, Namen, and Dagobah rivers. trade highways of medieval Eastern Europe, not hesitating to levy taxes and tolls as well as short of the trade of these merchants. But as all this wealth does not remain to sleep in the coffee oven, it was used for crusades, even if Prussia and Livonia are Christianized. Livonia resists the Teutonics and refuses Catholicism. There has been rapid, relentless Knights of Templar religion to be continued. I said to pop my head. It'll be continued again. My sequel will come soon. I said.